Hi, I'm Cornell Christensen. We're here at the Paterson Great Falls National Historic Park, and it's the 397th National Park in America. It's America's newest park, and we're going to do a little tour today of the park. Okay.
You guys are ready.
Okay. I'm here with Darren Boch, who is the superintendent of the park. Tell me about yourself.
Well, you introduced me as a superintendent, so that's my title. But my name is Darren, and I'm actually a native of Fairlawn. I grew up there. I was born in Paterson.
Fairlawn High School?
No, did not make it to the high school. I moved to California before that. But both my mother and my father and my older brother are all graduates of Fairlawn High.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we had moved. I had left Memorial Junior High, actually in the 8th grade, and moved on after that. So I used to come to the Great Falls with my grandfather. My grandmother was in the Seamstress Union, working in the mill. She used to make men's suits. And so I remember as a young boy, I used to live with my grandparents in Fairlawn, and I remember coming over here to this city to go see my grandma make men's suits in one of the mills.
Wow.
So, and I also remember coming and visiting the falls with my grandfather as a young boy. So I have a real familial connection to the city of Paterson, having grown up just east of here in the great town of Fairlawn.
Okay. And where did you work before coming here?
Well, right before here, I was working for the National Park Service for all the national parks in New York City. Some people are unaware, but many of the icons that we visit in the region, such as the Statue of Liberty or Ellis Island or Federal Hall in Manhattan, which is the site of the first Capitol of the United States, all of those are managed by the National Park Service.
Right.
So I would work for all the national parks in Manhattan and Brooklyn and Queens and the Statue in Ellis. And when I saw that a bill had passed Congress creating a new national park here in the city in which I was born.
One of President Obama's first?
One of his first
bills.
acts, and
Right.
there's not very many national parks. This is number 397
Right.
out of now, which is only 398. So there's less than 400 places
Right.
in the whole entire United States that we've deemed significant enough to set aside for all future generations. And this city and this part of it around the falls is one of those places. So I was privileged to ask the Park Service for the opportunity to come back home and work in Paterson.
Great. And tell us, what are your plans for the park?
Well, we're actually in the planning stages right now for the park. All national parks, or most of them, have what's called a general management plan. So by the law that created this park, we're required to go out and talk with the stakeholders and the public and all people that are interested in this park and ask them and what they would like to see as a visitor experience here in the park. So we're in the middle of the planning stages. In about a year, we should have a final document. Basically, that document is a guide or a management document that's supposed to guide this park for the next 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
So if I'm around, which I hope I will be, maybe not for all that time, but I'll be the first guy to come and start implementing parts of that plan.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Do you think the stadium will be preserved and refurbished?
Well, the good news is the stadium has been nominated as a National Historic Landmark.
Right.
So if you look at kind of where things sit, like I said, there's less than 400 national parks. There's thousands of national historic landmarks and national natural landmarks, of which the Great Falls, by the way, is both of them.
Right, sure.
But the stadium itself was nominated and passed through the committee that manages landmarks in November.
Okay.
And we are awaiting the Secretary of Interior's signature on that nomination.
Okay.
And then it will be an NHL. So that will afford the stadium some protection that it otherwise didn't have.
Right.
But the stadium remains owned by the school system, and but there's other people, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, the City of Paterson, the Friends of Hinchliffe Stadium, which is a nonprofit. They've all gotten together as partners, and the Park Service has been at the table as well to try to figure out ways to stabilize the structure so we don't lose it. So there could be some work happening soon through that partnership where they've secured some grant funds that they can get some work done on the stadium.
Okay. Do you expect an amphitheater built right over here?
That's one of the items that was talked about earlier when this was a state park, and even before that as a city park. So we
You could have concerts overlooking the falls.
Yeah, you could, but we don't necessarily think at this point that we'll be constructing an amphitheater for that purpose.
Okay.
I don't see that as probably a part of the plan, but I do see the falls as a venue for events, but
Okay.
maybe not necessarily by constructing something for that purpose.
Any restaurants possibly overlooking the falls?
Probably not run here in the park area, but what I hope is working with the city is that the existence of the park will spark some economic revitalization in the greater historic district.
Which
that's
it already
surrounded.
is, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So we want people to have a reason to linger.
Right.
So you can come here and look at this natural feature, which is a surprise to most people,
Right.
actually.
Yeah.
Within a 15-mile radius of Paterson, if you polled everybody and said, have you ever heard of the Great Falls of Paterson?
Right.
I'd be surprised if it exceeded single digits.
Right.
So once we attract people here with good programming, completed by partners and by the rangers, to talk about the history of Paterson, about why Paterson is here.
Right.
I mean, that's a great American story.
Sure.
This was the first planned industrial city
Right.
in the United States.
Yep. Alexander
And
Hamilton.
Alexander Hamilton founded the city for the purpose of manufacturing our own stuff in America rather than
First
importing
time.
everything.
Exactly.
Right. So it was to Hamilton, Paterson was an issue of great national security.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to get people to come and experience this story, but more importantly, I want them to have an opportunity to linger
Yes.
and to walk around the historic district and go to the many fine restaurants that are here in Paterson now.
Yes.
So I wouldn't, seek to build or have a concession or construct a restaurant right in the park,
Okay.
but I would hope to orient people
Right.
to all the many fine restaurants I frequent when I'm walking around the
And you got the
historic
Paterson Museum right down the street.
That's a partner of ours,
Nobody
run by
knows
the
that.
city of Paterson. It's
Right.
literally a football field away from the
Right.
falls is the Paterson Museum right on Spruce Street. And in that museum, you can see many of the things that were a result of Paterson's long history
Yes.
of not only industrial history, but geological history.
Right. Locomotives,
There's
submarines.
The locomotive submarines. There's silk looms.
Yep.
The Paterson Colts. There's
Colt
a fine
guns.
collection of Colt pistols.
Right.
The first Colts were produced here in the city of Paterson before the family moved on to Connecticut. So there's a lot to see in the museum, and also a mineralogical collection as well.
Yes.
The geology of the Great Falls is
Right.
fascinating natural history. So
Right.
this was a mineral-rich environment here
Yes.
at the falls, and you can see much of that at the museum as well. So that's a great stop when you're here,
Yes.
is to go visit the Paterson Museum, which you could walk to.
Yes. Cool. Great. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that was a great interview. Thank you.
Good, no problem.
The number one spot for photos. The number two spot for taking pictures of the falls. And so that was the Paterson Great Falls National Historic Park. Come on down.